Now I'd like to try one other animation so we can show what other kinds of properties Motion Tweens can handle. What we're going to build is a set of searchlights sweeping across the sky. So to get ready to build, I'm going to need a layer for my searchlight. I'll put it right above the channel layer here. And why don't we hide the building layer and move things up a little bit so we can see what's going on. For a searchlight, I just need a circle with a cone extending off the end of it. Now we're all set up with the active layer as our searchlight layer, so let me go ahead and use my oval tool again. I'll stick with the same yellow color we had before for the logos. And I'll drag out a circle for the top of the searchlight. For the cone extending down from it, let me just use the line segment tool, and I'm going to click right close to the edge of the circle and draw out one line and then two lines, one from the other side. I'll also draw a little cap at the bottom, and that's going to create a little area that I can fill. Let me switch over to my paint bucket tool. I'll change the color to a much lighter version, let's say maybe this yellow down here, and we'll go ahead and dump in the fill. Now I don't need any of those lines anymore, so I'm going to use my normal selection tool, double click, looks like it grabbed all of them, and I'll hit delete. And last but not least, I want to get this ready for a motion tween, so I'm going to select both parts here. I'll shift select the bottom one, and I'm going to make those into a movie clip by pressing F8. I'll call that Searchlight. We'll leave it as a movie clip, and for the registration point, I'm going to choose the lower left-hand corner. Remember, that registration point is going to be an axis that we rotate around, so I can have my searchlight swing around that corner. We'll click OK, and we've got our movie clip. Now, there's one important setting that's going to make this look really like a searchlight, instead of like this big solid shape that we have here. And that's going to be transparency. Well, I've said before that movie clips not only give us reusable objects and motion tweens, but they also give us a whole bunch of additional properties that we can use over here. The one we're looking for is in the color effect category. And actually, every single symbol has a color effect setting. The ones we have to choose from are here on the Style menu. We've got some brightness and tint. And at the bottom, we have alpha. And this is transparency in the program. Now earlier we saw we could make a single color transparent, and that's pretty cool. But using a movie clip, we can just use the alpha slider setting and we can make the entire clip transparent. And now we're getting a really neat searchlight effect. Of course, you can use this alpha setting on any movie clip. And actually, that's the setting that was used to fade in our 4 logo in the motion preset. Let's take a quick look. If I select the channel logo, and I move my playhead back to the first keyframe where the logo starts, we can click on the channel logo over here on the edge, and that will change our properties to show us the movie clip properties. And you can see that the alpha has already been set to 0. In fact, with the settings showing, if I move the playhead forward and click on it again, you can see that the alpha is now 100. So not only did the tween change the position of the logo as it flies in from the edge, it also changed the alpha setting from 0 to 100. Now let's go ahead and set up our searchlight. Right now my searchlight is just a static frame span. So what we want to do is make sure it's selected, and we want to turn it into a motion tween. There aren't any rotating presets, so we'll just build it ourselves. It's easy enough. One additional way you can make a motion tween is you can right click on the image, and you can see right at the top of the right click menu is Create Motion Tween. Of course, if you don't have a right click, you can use Control click on the Mac. Once I click that, you can see that it turned blue, and we're all ready to animate just like we did before. To start our animation, let's move the playhead back to frame 1, and I'll switch over to my Transform tool. Now I can see that my pivot point is actually in the center here, so let me just grab and drag it down to the bottom corner before we start. And then we can just move our playhead and set up a couple rotations. I'll go about halfway through our animation, and I'll grab a hold of my searchlight, pull it over here and rotate it up into the sky, and then move my playhead forward again towards the end, and run the searchlight back down. That's going to create a really nice back and forth motion for my searchlight going across the sky. While we're at it, why don't we add a little bit of alpha transparency animation? I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to set it so that it's a little bit dimmer. We'll go down to maybe, let's say 20%. As it moves up into the sky, I'll pick a point, and here I want to make the alpha very, very faint. Now, you notice I have motion tween properties over here, and that's because the last thing I clicked on was a motion tween. If you want to make sure that you have access to those alpha properties or other properties of movie clips, make sure even though it's selected that you go and click on the movie clip, and then you can see it brings up movie clip properties. Now I'm going to drop this down so that it's barely visible. And we'll go out to the end of the animation, and I'll bring it back up a little bit. Once again, I have to click on the movie clip to see the properties, and then we can bring it up just a little bit. Now as I play that back, you can see the alpha fade and come back in. I'd actually like to have these crisscrossed, and we can make that very easily because we have a reusable movie clip here. Let's create a layer for our second searchlight. I'll put it right above the first one. We'll call that Searchlight 2. And we'll go up into our library and drag in a copy of the searchlight. I'd like it to be facing the other direction, and since I have my transform tool already selected, I can actually flip it around just by dragging this in and squishing it down in the horizontal direction, and if I keep dragging, I'll pull it right back out the other side. I want to rotate from the bottom corner on the right hand this time, so let me drag that center point down to the bottom corner. I'll position this down a little bit lower here, and of course we'll make an alpha change setting for this one. I'm going to keep it pretty faint, and we'll take our layer and make it into a motion tween. We're all set up. We've got a movie clip, and it's in a layer by itself. I'll just right click, select Create Motion Tween, and then we can start animating. I'm right here at the first frame, so let's go up to the middle frame. I want this second searchlight to rotate over. And I also want to change the alpha a little bit while I'm here. Then I just want it to rotate back. So I'll move my playhead to the end of the timeline, change our rotation settings, and drop the alpha down just a little bit. And we've created our crisscrossing searchlight animation. Now all we need to do is bring the buildings back, and we can see how the whole thing looks together.